China's censorship is out of control. It's even censoring its own Olympic mascot. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, especially to look into controversial topics, you should be using a VPN like Surfshark to protect your identity. Well, the Olympics are almost over. I know, I'm sad too. And so is the Chinese Communist Party. Soon they won't be able to cover up all the bad things they're doing with the beauty of artificial snow. Speaking of artificial snow, don't forget to get your t-shirt celebrating the Beijing Olympics and its fake snow, but real genocide. Available exclusively at chinauncensored.tv/merchandise. So, the Beijing Olympics have been a little lackluster during COVID. It's harder for the Chinese regime to impress the world when people keep using the word dystopian to describe the games. I mean, what about this looks like a dystopian hellscape? Except everything. And when the Chinese regime goes through the trouble of building robots to make food for all the people at the Olympics, people call that dystopian too. And even worse, they complain the robot food doesn't taste good. My favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, could not let that stand. They wrote an entire propaganda piece about how great the food is at the Olympics. Although someone might want to tell the Global Times that if an athlete says they ate 200 dumplings because it's the only thing that's consistently always good, that's not a compliment about the overall quality of food. In any case, it sounds like those Western journalists complaining about the food need to sit back, relax, and have another quarantini. How could you look at this and call the Olympics dystopian? But in this soft power shortfall, one bright spot remains. The Chinese Communist Party has struck gold with their Olympic mascot. And no, I'm not talking about Eileen Gu, the Chinese-American skier who won a gold medal for China. At first, it did look like Gu was going to be the darling of the Olympics with her athletic skills, her gold medal, and her ability to eat steamed buns and gobble dumplings. But then she got censored. That happened after Gu claimed that anyone could download a VPN to get around China's internet censorship. Which is not true. VPNs are not available on Chinese app stores, and people have been arrested for using them. So that sparked a discussion about class privilege on the Chinese internet, which the Chinese Communist Party does not like. So they censored images of Gu's Instagram comment, as well as discussion about the issue. Yes, the Chinese regime censored Gu's defense of Chinese censorship. You know, what the Chinese regime needs is a soft power win. And they found one in a big, fluffy way. Enter Bing Dwen Dwen, the official mascot of the Beijing Olympics, with his very own craze. Bing Dwen Dwen is a giant panda from the future/outer space wearing an ice-encrusted spacesuit. Don't think about it too hard. Bing means ice, and Dwen Dwen is a nickname for a chubby, round child. So you could say his name is kind of like ice dumpling. No, Eileen, it's a metaphorical dumpling. Don't gobble it. Now, it makes sense that China would use a giant panda as an Olympic mascot, even though pandas are big, fat, and dumb. How anybody finds these lazy fuzzballs cute is beyond me. Sure, when a giant panda falls asleep in a tree at the National Zoo, it's adorable. When I do it, it's trespassing. But most people wrongly think pandas are lovable. So the Chinese Communist Party is able to weaponize their alleged cuteness for a lot of panda propaganda. They literally own all the giant pandas in the world. The Chinese regime rents out pandas to other countries, which have to pay $1 million a year to China, with 10-year contracts, plus pay extra if the pandas have cubs. Of course, countries only pay up because pandas are big moneymakers for zoos in both visits and merchandise, which means the Chinese Communist Party can also threaten to take pandas away from countries for doing things that anger them, like meeting the Dalai Lama. So why did we give the Olympics to an authoritarian regime that acts like this again? Oh right, because the International Olympic Committee is totally bought off by the Chinese Communist Party. Anyway, Olympic mascot Bing Dwen Dwen was just another in a long line of panda propaganda agents, until it couldn't keep its mouth shut. More after the break. Welcome back. Bing Dwen Dwen may be all the rage now, but when he first debuted back in 2019, people thought it was ugly. Like out of this world ugly. A flash frozen panda and a sesame ball with its filling leaking out. Sure, ice dumpling here kind of looks like it should be making you a quarantini, but it could be worse. This is Shui Rong Rong, the Paralympic Games mascot, which kind of looks like an anthropomorphic Chinese lantern that chases you around a Chinese restaurant in your nightmares. And speaking of nightmares, let's not even talk about what the British did with their Olympic and Paralympic mascots back in 2012. That's truly terrifying. So you can see why the Beijing Olympics is milking Bing Dwen Dwen for all it's worth. Here's Bing Dwen Dwen sweeping snow. Here it is doing a dance-off. Here it is documenting a future claim for workers' compensation. But there are some questions over whether the Bing Dwen Dwen craze was organic or manufactured. Bing Dwen Dwen has an army of Chinese government accounts fueling his viral rise. Almost 20% of the accounts sending 30,000 tweets about Bing Dwen Dwen were created in the last month. Another 15% were started last year. But even if it started as a fake craze, it's very real now, as people try to snatch up all available Bing Dwen Dwen merch. Police are punishing Chinese traders for cashing in by reselling scarce dolls of Olympic mascot Bing Dwen Dwen at up to 10 times retail price. A store even made a diamond-encrusted Bing Dwen Dwen doll. Finally, China wins Olympic soft power gold. Literally, because there are gold bars with Bing Dwen Dwen on them. And you can even buy Bing Dwen Dwen NFTs. Here's an NFT of Bing Dwen Dwen figure skating and snowboarding and doing the biathlon. Yeah, that one's a little too real. So everything was going great until Bing Dwen Dwen opened its mouth and spoke. In a clip from state-run CCTV, Bing Dwen Dwen didn't sound quite like people imagined.
你好呀，
你好。
很高兴见到你。
It basically sounded like an old Chinese uncle with a Rust Belt accent. Imagine if Mickey Mouse talked like Jed Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies. Chinese people didn't like it. And as more and more people complained about how hearing Bing Dwen Dwen talk shattered their illusions, Chinese authorities stepped in and did what they do best: censor everything. A few hours later, China's censors sprang into action and removed the hashtag Bing Dwen Dwen has spoken from the Twitter-like social media platform Weibo. They also pulled all the clips of the interview from China's internet. And Chinese state-run media claimed that the Bing Dwen Dwen who was interviewed by Chinese state-run media was an imposter. Chinese state-run media also confirmed that Bing Dwen Dwen was gender-neutral, couldn't speak, and could only make babbling noises. I say, why let Bing Dwen Dwen make babbling noises at all? Why not just take away its mouth? Then no one will expect it to speak. What's that, Shelley? Never mind, I take it back. Bing Dwen Dwen without a mouth is even more horrifying. But let's just stop for a minute and think about how ridiculous this story is. Chinese state-run media hyped up Bing Dwen Dwen. Then they did an interview with it that damaged its image. So the Chinese authorities stepped in and censored their own Olympic mascot to cover up their mistake. Totally normal behavior. But now that Bing Dwen Dwen can no longer speak, the Chinese regime can go back to making hundreds of millions of dollars off of it and using it for heartwarming propaganda. Like this story about how an Olympic volunteer at the Biathlon Center is drawing Bing Dwen Dwen on face masks as a gift to foreign journalists. That sounds sweet. Let's take a look at those masks. Yes, as a foreign journalist in China, I too would welcome a mask featuring a space panda pointing a gun at me. Thank you. I will treasure this souvenir of the not at all dystopian Olympics. But as the Chinese Communist Party keeps riding the Bing Dwen Dwen train, there's a real danger for them. What if Bing Dwen Dwen gets too popular? Like more popular than the Communist Party? Well, who knows what could happen next? As this very reputable Twitter account suggests, Bing Dwen Dwen could have it out for Chinese leader Xi Jinping. I, for one, welcome our new ice dumpling overlord. I mean, Bing Dwen Dwen's face has been writ upon the very skies above. Mandate of heaven confirmed. And this episode has been sponsored by Surfshark. Because if you want to access the internet without being constantly monitored or censored by your government, you should hide your internet activity with a VPN like Surfshark. And yes, it's available in the App Store, just not while you're in China. With Surfshark's IP and DNS leak protection, the government can't tell where you're really connecting from, and your internet service provider can't either. Surfshark also protects you by not keeping logs of what you do online, whether it's on your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. And by the way, you can connect as many devices as you want with one account. So try out Surfshark. They've got a special deal that includes 83% off a 2-year plan plus 3 extra months for free. Go to surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code UNCENSORED. The link is in the description below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.